So my friends, this entire maintenance series is not possible to cover in single video. That is the reason what I'm going to do is I'm just going to break this in maybe 3, 4 or 5 whatever videos are required, and it is going to be very interesting. Hello friends, welcome to Meshafix Auto. Currently you're watching Jimny Quick series where we talk about everything about Jimny. So it is needless to say we all actually use the car on the daily basis. Maybe it's a Jimny, maybe some other car, because it is not only us. Our car also actually faces a very hard time when it is a road, highways and all different terrains. The maintaining a vehicle is not a straightforward and easier task. It is definitely very tricky to maintain a vehicle. Most of the time, we take our vehicle to the service center for the scheduled maintenance, and sometimes there are some unscheduled maintenance as well. Whenever we go for any scheduled maintenance, that we can understand. But what about when you go for any unscheduled maintenance? It is actually waste of your efforts, your money and your time definitely. So the overall agenda of this particular video is reduce your efforts, save your money and save your time, and let's see how we can achieve it. There are a couple of more things I want to discuss before I start the video. If you know about your vehicles and you know how to maintain it, in what period you need to check what, there are so many do it yourself things, then definitely it is going to be beneficial for you. Apart from that, if you know more about your vehicle, suppose you are traveling alone or with the family, in that case, if you stuck somewhere, there are a lot many things you already know about the vehicle, and probably you can fix few things and you can tackle those things smartly. That's another objective of this particular video. So let's start the video without wasting time. In fact, there are so many things you need to take care in the car, but one of the most critical thing, and I always keep that on the top priority, is actually the tire. Yes, tire is one of the most critical thing. I always keep that actually in the top of the list, and there is a reason for that. If you have the good tire pressure, in that case, you are actually ensuring your safety, the stability of the car, the life of the tire is going to be very good, and you will get better fuel economy. So I think these all the factors are very important for any of the car or the car owner. But all these things actually come from the two things. If the tire is in very good condition, then this is the first parameter for any drive to be safe or stable. But the another parameter is a good tire pressure, and this is the area where most of the people actually do the mistakes. I'm not saying you are the part of that, but people do that. How we can ensure the car is having the right tire pressure? And that looks simple, but it is tricky. It is not that simple. I mean, it is simple for the people actually who know how to check it. So let me tell you why I'm saying this. Well, there is the best way to check the tire pressure is always check the tire pressure in morning times before you start the vehicle. Either in the morning or the tires are in normal state. Let's understand the both the things. So the normal state of the tire meaning is the tire condition should not be hot. The air inside the tires should not be hot. When you check the tire pressure in the morning, at that time you will find tires in the cold state, and the cold state tire is the best state when you should check the pressure of the tire. If you are checking the pressure of the tire when they are really hot, then they will never give you the right reading. The reason is when the air is hot, that actually expands. When it expands, it actually increases the tire pressure. It is a normal tendency of the air in the tire. Whenever you start driving the vehicle, after some time, maybe after half an hour drive or a 1 hour drive, your tire become very hot. In that case, you will see the tire pressure automatically increase, maybe increase by 3 points, 4 points, etc. For example, the tire pressure in the tire should be 26. In that case, after 1 hour drive, you may find the tire pressure is now 29, 30. So one of the way to tackle this is if you fill the nitrogen in the tire, in that case, the nitrogen will not expand that higher. So maybe after 1 hour, 2 hour running, the nitrogen will actually increase by 1 or 2 points only. But the normal air, it get hotter sooner. In that case, the tire pressure going to increase very soon and to the very higher levels as I told you. So always be very careful about the tire pressure. So what exactly you're going to compromise with the increased tire pressure? One is stability. Why stability? Because if you have the higher tire pressure, what is going to happen? This profile is going to be harder. That means it touches a lesser area on the surface. In that case, whenever you apply the brakes are not going to be very effective, especially in the rainy conditions. And also when I say it is hard, the meaning of hard is it gives more bumps to the vehicle. And in case you have unequal tire pressure in all 4 tires, for example, or maybe 2 tires you have a different pressure, 2 tires you have a different pressure, or the 2 different sides, then what will happen? The unequal tire pressure increase the wears and tear of the tire actually. So like our shoes, so tires are very, very important. So we have to maintain a good tire pressure. And how to check what should be the tire pressure in your car? So there are two different ways. One is, so you can check the owner's manual where the prescribed tire pressures are given in different states. And there is a one more way. When you open this door, there is a sticker, there's a placard here. You can see the tire pressure, what is the prescribed tire pressure in your car. So every car you can find this sticker there. So that is very, very important to follow. So what I recommend is you should check the tire pressure of the car on alternative days if you can't do that on the daily basis. Or roughly I can say at least you should check the tire pressure twice a week, and that is going to give you so many benefits. Well, there is a one more way you can check this tire pressure very easily if you have TPMS installed or there's a built-in TPMS in your car. But unfortunately there is no built-in TPMS in Jimny, but we can always install an aftermarket TPMS if you want. And whenever you install any TPMS, just ensure you should install an internal TPMS. Avoid installing the external TPMS in the car. The last but not least about the tire, and that is very, very important, is your spare tire. You know what? Most of the people actually ignore the spare tire. For example, company says your tire pressure in the car should be 30, for example, right? So in that case, I would suggest 2 or 3 more points should be there in the spare wheel, because due to some gradual leakage, the tire pressure reduced by the time. So at least in 15 days time, you should check the tire pressure of the spare wheel as well. Do all these activities in advance whenever you go for any trip. For example, you're on highway and you want to check the tire pressure. It is not going to give you a right state of the tire. In that case, if you're taking one halt, for example, half an hour, 1 hour, I think 1 hour is sufficient to become the tire cooler. In that case, you can check whenever you resume your journey from that place. But don't check the tire pressure when tires are really hot. It is not going to give you a good reading. That also leads to release the tire pressure to the level it is not recommended. So be very careful. It is very important. So let's move to the next point. Well, there's one thing I want to show you. I reached here a couple of hours ago, so my car is standing still from last 2 hours. That means the tire state is pretty cool. And before I reach here, I get these tire pressure filled from outside. So let's check the tire pressure, whether these tire pressures are good or not. To check the tire pressure, I have a small gauge. Let me show you. This is a very small gauge. I would recommend to you. I'm not saying go for this company. What I'm saying is this kind of gauge you can have. Things you can do with this particular gauge. One, you can check the tire pressure from here, and when you check the tire pressure, you can deflate the tire actually by pressing this nozzle. So this is a tire pressure gauge and deflator both. So let's quickly check the tire pressure. So look at, this is 26, I believe. Tire pressure in this particular tire is fine. So let's check another one. So this is another fun tire. I'm going to check the tire pressure of this tire as well. Oh, this is high. You can see 31. So I get the tire pressure filled actually a couple of hours back. So I need to deflate it. I'm just going to use this button, which is a deflate button. Now it's 27. Let's try again. Yes. Now I have perfect tire pressure on both the tires in the front. Well, the next important thing is the engine oil check. We all should do engine oil check at least fortnightly if it is not possible on the weekly basis. So why it is important? You must have heard about one recommendation. Whenever you start your car in the morning and you start your vehicle and you start riding the vehicle, don't rush your vehicle. Don't start driving that roughly, right? And why it is so? Because in engine, there are so many parts which are moving inside, right? Those parts need some lubrication, have to lubricate until before those all parts actually start working. And there's a lot of friction inside the engine. And to mitigate this particular challenge, we have the engine oil. But the problem is when your engine is in the cold state and standing whole night, all the engine oil actually goes below in the chamber. And whenever you crank the vehicle, there is an oil pump which actually started flowing that engine oil to the different parts inside the engine. And this whole exercise takes some time. When it takes some time, That is the reason people say don't rush in the morning whenever you start your vehicle. At least drive 4 5 kilometers, or and if it's possible 10 kilometers before you really rush the vehicle and you really drive it fast. That is why it is utmost important to check the engine oil levels. Right now my car is in a cold state, and this is the best time to check the engine oil, because there is no use if you are checking the engine oil when the engine is too hot, because engine oil actually spread it all over, and that is a time you can't really check the engine oil. In that case, probably that will give you the reading that engine oil level is too high. So always check the engine oil when the engine in the cold state, and the morning is the best time for that, or at least give 1 hour time to engine to cool down. And in the meantime, the complete engine oil come to the chamber, and that actually give you the right reading. So let's check the engine oil of my vehicle because it is in cold state. So my friends, let me open the latch and I'll show you. I open the latch and here it goes. So this is hydraulic bonnet. I needed to use this rod. So to check the engine oil, you need to remove this dipstick. And how to identify in Jimny or possibly in many vehicles, there's a yellow hook here. You just need to pull out this yellow hook, and there's a long steel strip inside. You can see this, right? And whenever you do that, take a cloth with you, clean it, and again you just dip it and then again pull out. Now you can see the level. There's a one hole here, you can see. This is one hole, and there's another hole which is inside the oil. So there are two holes here. The hole below here, which is the lower level of the oil, and the hole above, which is the higher level of the oil. So as long as your lower level is actually dip in the oil, you are good. I'll show you the lower hole as well. This is the lower hole and this is the upper hole. If that lower hole is inside oil, then there's no need to worry about. But probably this is the time you need to top up the oil. So the level of the oil should not be below this lower hole. And at the same time, the level of the oil should not be above this upper hole as well. And that is also very dangerous. See, if the oil level is below lower hole, that means there is no enough oil and probably the lubrication will not happen properly. But what happens in case the oil is above the upper hole? In that case, that is also dangerous because that will create a lot of pressure inside the engine. And when it creates a lot of pressure inside the engine, that means it is not good for the engine, and probably it actually breaks some seals, especially the gaskets, right? If that happens, probably you need to get repair the head of the engine, which is again a costly affair and not good for the engine as well. So whenever the engine oil is between these two holes, then you are good. Never exceed the engine oil, and the engine oil should not be deficit to the recommended level. So that is very important. So hopefully you understand that. There is one more thing I just want to tell you. The other thing is the quality of the oil. Normally in the petrol car, the color of the oil actually won't change much. See, if you're able to see, it is a reddish. So that means that engine oil is fine. And you also can check the viscosity of the engine oil. If you see the viscosity is good, you can use it. Otherwise, if the viscosity is not good and it is very dirty, then it is a time to change. Sometimes we also need to change the engine oil before service. That happens. And it is not just for Jimny, it is for any car you have. And especially if you have a diesel car, then the only way to check the engine oil is the viscosity of the oil. Because once you put the oil in the diesel engine, after just 500 kilometers, you will see it becomes blackish. So the only way to check that engine oil is the viscosity. That should be very, very viscous. If that is very, very viscous, that means the engine oil is fine. Hopefully you understand that. And it remains same for almost every petrol car and diesel car, I already told you. So let's go. It's a time to conclude the video and be with me. So I try to cover a lot many things. I'm not saying this is the end of the list. Maybe there is many more things, and there are many more things to cover, to maintain and be vigilant about the vehicle. But you know, we can't cover everything in a single video. I tried my best to cover most important aspects, so it will be helpful for you. More you know about your vehicle, better you can tackle that actually in very different situations, especially when you are alone somewhere and you really want to handle it. And probably somewhere in someday you come out from the difficult situation just because you know more about your vehicle, and that's a really beautiful thing. And you know what, the driving of the vehicle is not just you are pushing some pedals below, but more than that. So better you have a knowledge about your vehicle. That means you can handle it, tackle it better. So hopefully, my friends, you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, like my video, share my video with your nears and dears, subscribe my channel. And currently you are watching Jimny Cookbook series, where we talk about everything about Jimny, and we are going to layer out many things about the Jimny going forward, and you will see so many such videos in the Jimny Cookbook series. So it's time to go. I'll see you next time. Take care of you. Bye bye.